have Paul L. Staley here today. His birth date is 10/15/1930. He was in the Korean War in the Army. He is from Piqua, Ohio. Today is the 2nd of February 2012. My name is Tona Francis, and I'm a friend of Paul. The interview is being conducted for the Miami County Veterans History Project in the American Folk Life Center at the Library of Congress. The project is sponsored by Mission Veterans to DC of Piqua, Ohio. Paul, where were you born?
I was born in Piqua.
And any family?
Yes, I have a wife and 2 children, 5 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren.
And do you have any brothers or sisters?
I do have one brother, John, and he lives in Piqua. I have 2 older brothers who are deceased, Robert and Richard.
And what were you doing before you entered the service, Paul?
Before I entered the service, I was doing some accounting work. I had worked in my father's grocery store all during my youth, and then I went to business college and got some education in accounting, and was working at Anchor Manufacturing in Piqua.
Do you have any other family members that were in the military?
My oldest brother, Richard, was in the Navy during World War II. Quit high school to join the Navy, and then got out. Then when he got out of the service, he got his GED, and then got his bachelor's and master's degree, and was a teacher for the rest of his career.
Okay, how did you get into the service? Where did all that start?
Well, we all knew that we was going to probably be drafted, so the appeal of the National Guard was, if you're going to go in the service, why not go in with some people that you know? So, feeling and being in limbo, not being able to get a job or do much of anything if you're going to be drafted, decided to join the National Guard, and if they got called up, we would at least go with people from your own community. So I did that in October, I think, of '51, and they then sent me to Camp Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indianapolis, Indiana, to a personnel school to be trained in clerical work. And then our unit was called up in September of '51, and we left Piqua in January of '52.
So you departed for a training camp then?
Yes. January 21st.
And you went where?
To Camp Polk, Louisiana.
And how long were you there?
Well, we had 8 weeks of basic training, and then we had 8 weeks of advanced training, which would be in your specialty. And I was in the Battery C of the 136th Field Artillery Battalion of the 37th Infantry Division. So we had the 16 weeks of training.
Then where did you go after Louisiana?
Well, before I left Louisiana, all the rest of the guys was getting called out to Korea. Not as a unit, but as whatever specialty they had and whatever they needed in Korea. So, as those guys left, there was very few of us that was left until it was down to about 6 or 8 of us, and all the rest had been shipped out to either Korea or Germany. And so our assignment then was, Battery C, was to take another group of draftees through for basic training. So we got 150 draftees from the South as our group. And we had 3 officers and about 4 or 5 non-coms. And even then it got to the point where some of the non-coms got called up. And so you did what you had to do. And as a corporal, they even made me acting first sergeant for the remainder of the training for the basic trainees.
What were some of the things you had to do?
Well, we just did the same thing that we had just, I had just went through and done in basic. We took them through and did the same kind of training. And
are we talking with rifles, or are we talking?
Oh yeah, we had rifles. Even though you're in the artillery, you still had to carry a carbine in case your position was overrun. You had to act like you were infantry. And during our training, we was warned by the Korean veterans, who was our cadre, you better be prepared, because that does happen in Korea. That the forward position can give way, and you're same as infantry, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, we had carbine training, and you know, we had to crawl on our belly under the wire, barbed wire, and all that kind of stuff. It was a whole lot like infantry. Well, the first 8 weeks is all the same. That's called basic. And then the advanced is, then we did artillery training and went out on maneuvers and learned how to do our job.
So there wasn't you didn't decide anything. They decided it for you and told you that's what you were going to do?
Oh yeah. You don't decide anything in the service.
Okay, how was that? Physical and the barracks, the food, the social life? How was all that?
Quite an adjustment, because a lot of us had not been away from home much. I had went to college for a year, and but other than that, you know, we hadn't, a lot of us, been too far away from home. So it was an adjustment. But the advantage was we didn't know all the guys. That was certainly helpful. But we had about 65 or so from Piqua, and they put 40 or 45 guys in with us. So we had over about 110 guys in our unit going through basic, and all of our cadre was people that had served in Korea, so they knew what they was training us for. Okay. And it was an adjustment to live in a barracks with all that noise and.
We had brothers and sisters, so that might have helped.
Yes, yes, but still, there's no privacy in the service, and you don't have. They dictate what you do 24 hours a day. So we got to leave, I think, after the first 8 weeks, and get to go to town. That was a big thing. So
that was your social life.
That was your social life. And the odd thing I remember when we went to town, which was Leesville, Louisiana, a really bad town, an army town, and I remember the highlight was being able to go to the Dairy Queen, you know,
oh, wow.
ice cream. Isn't that strange?
That's wonderful. So how was the food on campus?
That was pretty good. No complaints. You're hungry, you eat, you know. But I do remember one time being on KP, and so we ate after all the other guys were served, and while you're on KP, you're eating, and the cooks come out and eat with you. And I had my plate of food, and I picked up the salt and pepper shaker and did that, and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "What?" "I'm just putting salt and pepper on." He said, "You haven't even tasted your food. How do you know it needs salt and pepper?" I go, "Just have it." I don't know. But the food was good.
Good.
no problem.
Good. So where did you go from Louisiana then?
Well, then I finally got orders to go to FECOM, which is Japan, which meant Korea. And I was shipped to Richmond, California, to a disembarkation point. And I don't know, we was there, I don't remember how many days, but most of them got shipped out in a day or 2 or 3 days, and mine was longer than that. And finally, on the bulletin board, I saw that I had drawn my assignment for the next day's shift, which was a relief because you want to get out of there, you don't know a soul, and it's just, they give you temporary assignments and just to keep you busy. And one that I remember in particular, they put me on guard duty, and I'd been on guard duty before, but you know, you have a rifle with no ammo, so you're just, you know, you're just doing the duty. But this duty was to guard the prisoners that guys that showed up late and or were AWOL. So when they gave me the rifle, they loaded it with live ammo and instructed us what to do if the prisoners tried to get away. And I didn't like that feeling that you were with a gun in your hand guarding your own people. But then, so finally, I got the orders for my ship, and they had given me a job that day, which I think was checking people in or something, and I said, hey, I'm leaving it in the morning. I'm not going to do that. I don't have to do that. You can't do anything. You know, I'll be gone. And the sergeant was real upset. He said, well, you might refuse that, but then I'll put you on advanced detail, which means at 2 o'clock in the morning, the day you're to ship out, which is tomorrow, you go down and clean the ship up from the night before, and then the other guys will board at 6 and the ship will leave at 8. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, they take us for advanced detail, and we're going to clean up the ship. That's my punishment. And I deserved it. And they took us in a truck. There was only about 25 or 30 of us. Walked up the gangplank with your duffel bag, got on board ship, and it's dark, of course, at 2 o'clock in the morning, and up pulls a Jeep. A guy with a Jeep with a clipboard and a flashlight, and he's grumbling about he's got the worst job in the world. And he walks up, and I was still just gotten on board ship, and he says, you know, grumbling about this terrible job, and I said, what's your problem? And he said, well, I got to find somebody. And like a fool, I said, who are you hunting? I didn't know anybody's name. I didn't know a soul's name. And he said my name, and I go, oh my Lord, I'm not even going to answer him because that sergeant's going to put something else on me. So I hesitated for probably 30 seconds or a minute and finally said, well, your problem's over, but mine might be just beginning because I'm the guy you're looking for. And he said, well, get your bag and get off. You're not going. Your orders have been canceled. So I was both excited and, I don't know, disappointed, and grabbed my bag and got off board the ship, and he gets in the Jeep and takes off, and I'm standing on the dock, and I'm about 10 or 15 miles from base. So what do I do now? So I go out on the highway and thumb my way back to base.
Oh my goodness.
And when I got there, the same sergeant said, oh, looky who's here. He put me on KP solid for 1 whole week. And then they didn't know what to do with me. So then I had an unusual assignment. When you're in a disembarkation point and not going, they don't know what to do with you either. So believe it or not, I was assigned to what they call SCARWAF, which is Special Category Army Personnel with the Air Force. So I was then sent to Beale Air Force Base, and it was an Army engineering battalion attached to the Air Force. and our assignment was to build airstrips in the Mojave Desert. And because they were doing all their testing at that time on over the desert, and Captain Yeager was breaking the sound barriers for the first time. So that was a novelty back then to hear that sonic boom, and it sounded like the worst clap of thunder you ever heard. And we built airstrips, but I was only out on that assignment for a month, and the rest of the time at Beale Air Force Base, I was in the headquarters as clerk, had an 8 to 5 office job, and got my wife to come out to California, and we lived on base in a trailer, and had a really pretty nice duty till I was discharged.
So you were married before you went to the
I
service?
was just married just before we were called up.
Okay, but had no children at that time?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So then how long were you out there in the desert?
Most of the guys would go for 3 months. But I guess, again, because I was a clerk, they sent me out there for a month, and then the rest, I think it only had 10 or 11 months left, is the reason I didn't go. So then, the remainder of the time, like I say, we came back and just worked in headquarters company, and like an 8 to 5 office job. It's pretty nice.
So you ate the food there still?
Oh yeah.
But you didn't stay in the barracks like before?
No barracks.
No training
anymore?
anymore?
Well, I did until she got out and I got off base housing, yes.
Any more training after that?
Nope. No.
Hear from any of your buddies over in Korea?
Not really. I did have one experience though in Richmond, California, when I was put back on KP for a week. Sitting back at the back, that particular day I was doing officers training, mess hall, and I had gotten a short break, and I was back at the back end of the mess hall, sitting there, greasy, dirty, hadn't shaved, really down in the dumps. And here comes a guy that I went to college with in Dayton as a second lieutenant, all spiffed up, shiny. And I felt about this high. But the end of that story is he went to Korea and was a forward observer, and was wounded, and the guy that was his radio man was killed in his foxhole right beside him. So I was very lucky. As I look back, I was very fortunate, and I think that a lot of it was having gone to business college before I was joined. Maybe all that had some connection and did influence what happened to me, and did influence after the service. That's the kind of work I did for my whole career.
So when you were in the one hall and saw the gentleman you went to college with, did he recognize you, or did you even talk? Okay,
yes.
So you did talk to him.
He worked at Rikes. We went to college together, and he worked at Rikes, and became a kind of an executive there. In fact, he was a Dayton City Commissioner after we came out of the service. Roy Paulson, and I think he passed away. So yeah, but I remember that so distinctly because he looked so good and I looked so bad.
It's just the way you felt at the time.
Oh yeah, that was a low point.
So what did you do when you were off duty? Did you travel any when you were out west?
We did. When Joyce and I got out there, I think our pay was only like, I'm not sure, but I think it was $200 a month. But we both said, we don't know if we'll ever get back to California or not. So every weekend or whatever, we saved our nickels and dimes and we'd go somewhere. And most of our friends that we made on base, they didn't do that, and we thought, we're going to take advantage of it. So we went to Hollywood one weekend, and Los Angeles, and we went to San Francisco, and we went to the big thing then was they just built Shasta Dam out there in Northern California. And so we did. We tried to see as many things as we could, and I'm glad we did. We did go back when my kids were 9, 10, 11 years old. I wanted to go back and see the base and go to California and take a vacation. And we did, and got back to the base, and it looked different and was different. And got to the outside gate, and they said, "No, you can't enter." And I said, "Hey, I was stationed here," and went through the whole spiel. And they said, "Well, no, this has been changed to a strategic bomber site, so you can't get on base." I said, "Look, I won't even get out of the car. We'll just drive. I just want to see and show my kids and my wife, the base again." Nope, wouldn't let me do it. And they had SAC bombers at that time, and this was during the Cold War, still, so we didn't get to see it again. But we did get back to California that time, so.
Things look different?
Totally different. The highway going into the base was a different highway. It was like a super highway now, 4-laner. Went through the mountains a different route, so to me it looked didn't look any different until I got into the town of Marysville, which was the town closest to the base. And the base looked different because I couldn't get on it. It was clear out.
Pretty far from where you
Yeah.
go in the gate.
Right.
Nobody that you knew was out there anymore?
No.
Yeah, everybody had
Everybody was
moved
gone.
on. Yeah. Do you still keep in touch with some of your former veteran friends?
Yes, most of them because they were from Piqua. Yes.
And how many are there, do you think, left?
Well, we just had a little luncheon for the 60th anniversary of our leaving Piqua, and out of the 68, I think that we found found that 21 were still living, and 40 some were deceased, and we couldn't find 3 of them. We don't know what happened to them.
That's pretty good. How did you get all that information?
Well, Chuck Alexander and I had the idea at the same time to do this, and Chuck did a lot of research at the library here, at the Piqua History Department, very helpful, and we tried to confirm the people that had passed away by obituaries and that type of thing, and so we did end up with names, addresses, phone numbers of the ones surviving, and had a nice turnout and was worth all the work.
Have a lot of good memories to talk about?
A lot of good memories, and in doing it, it's made Chuck and I both look back for the 2 or 3 months that we put into this. We've been looking back here all winter long, and not only about our Army times, but our school days and everything else. So it's been rewarding.
When you got out of the service, where did you go?
Came back to Piqua and looked for a job, and I think the first job I got when I got back might have been at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Worked there in the payroll department for a year, I think. Didn't like that drive. That was a long drive, especially in the winter. And then I got a good job at Hobart Manufacturing. I decided I wanted to get out of accounting, and so I took a job at Hobart's in tool design, which was foreign to me, but I thought that would be a good thing to do. Worked there about a year, maybe 2, and could see that I had a lot to learn about tool design, and I didn't see a whole great deal of future, although Hobart you know, in those days, if you went to work at Hobart's, you had a job for a lifetime. And actually, that's what turned me off. They would proudly point as I'd walk through there. Well, look, there's Joe's desk over there. He's been there for 42 years at that same desk, in that same corner. And I go, and I'm thinking to myself as a young man, well, that's good for him, but I don't think I want to sit in a corner for 42 years. So there became an opportunity. Well, I was recommended by somebody at Hobart there was an advertising company in Troy, Dalton Advertising Company, that needed an accountant. And I thought, well, I better get back in accounting and know more about that. And so I took the job there, and I worked there for about a year, and began to think that I'm doing a lot of job changing. And then I had heard that one of the guys that I was in service with, Robert Barton, worked at Airvent, and he bragged about how nice that was. He took me over one Saturday and took me through the office, and lo and behold, they had a job opening in accounting come up, and so I quit there and went to work at Airvent as an accountant and stayed there for 35 years. Yeah. So that was I found my home finally.
Well, good. Did anything happen when you came home? Was the war over at that time?
It was over.
So was there parades, or was there anything?
No.
Nothing special happened when you came home?
Didn't expect it.
Did that upset you? Say you didn't expect it, so that didn't upset you?
No, because I had served my time, and I didn't go overseas, and they didn't. You know, we did that, I think. As a kid, I remember some celebrations and being very patriotic after World War II. But Korea was different. And the wars since have been even more different.
Yes, they have. When you came home, did your family get together with you? Were your parents still alive at that time?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And your parents' names?
My dad's name was Vondale Staley, but everybody called him Pete. And you can see why with that name, Vondale. And my mother's name was Alma, and my dad ran a grocery store for his whole life in Piqua.
And you didn't want to take over the business, I take it?
I thought about it, but at that time, this is 1953, there had been signs that the coming thing was going to be self-serve groceries, and the new word then was supermarket, and Joe Somm had maybe about that time or a little later on started the first supermarket on Ash Street. He had had a grocery store on Main Street, and he built the building on Ash Street well, we had Kroger's and A&P, but the first independent was Joe Somm. And you could see that the neighborhood store was going to be a thing of the past. And my dad's two stores were both in neighborhoods on Park Avenue and Broadway, surrounded by residential houses. So there was just no room to build anything bigger. So it meant that you would have had to buy some land somewhere, and certainly Dad was ready to retire. And my older brother Dick made it very clear he didn't want to do it. And my older brother John, he was interested, but I didn't think I wanted to do that. I remember as a kid, of course, as a kid I worked in there from 5, 6 years old on up doing something. And I just didn't want to have to cater to the public like my dad did. He did it. He did it well. As a young person, you know, certainly if I was older, I would have had a different attitude. But as a young person, I had thoughts about it. I thought that we had the two stores, and and I think my dad did too. That John would take one and I would take one. And John was probably gonna take Park Avenue and I was gonna take Broadway. But, didn't have the money to, go buy land and build a building, and, so went into accounting instead.
And then did your father's store just close,
It did.
or did he sell it?
No, John took it over and ran it for a couple of years and closed it out. And he went to work for Nabisco because he could see the salesman coming in, the meat salesman, the grocer salesman, and the cookie salesman, and he thought that'd be a nice job to go around and call on grocery stores. So that's what he did for 35 or 40 years.
Good for
He
him.
stayed in the grocery business.
I was wondering if you have, over the years, become a member of any organizations for veterans?
No,
Not VFW or American
No.
Legion?
I didn't.
I know some people do that when
I
they get
know.
back. Do you have any lessons you think you learned from the military service?
Well, at the time you don't think so. When I suppose almost from the beginning, I had a calendar like a prisoner in prison. Oh, one more day gone, cross that one off. Couldn't wait to get out because I wanted to do when you're younger, you got more ambition or whatever. Want to do things my way. And in the service, you're told everything to do, when to get up, when to go to bed, when to eat, how to dress, everything. And so, no, I just didn't hate it, but I was anxious to get out and get started and get on with my life. So.
Did you start any bad habits? I know some people say they've started bad habits while they were in the service.
No, I never did smoke, and some of the guys after payday would gamble. That never interested me. So, no. But looking back, I look on the service, and it was very helpful. But you don't see that until 20 years later, when you reflect on why did things happen the way they did, and why are you the way you are, and what formed your personality. And you do a lot of reflecting, especially at this age now. When we're at the end, you do a lot and then go back and think, and that's why people can rewrite history. As it happens, it can be recorded, but then people will reflect on what happened, like Kennedy's assassination and things, and get a different perspective on it because they can reflect on what happened before, during, and after that event, and it puts it in a different perspective. So the service, as they say, makes a man out of you. It made you more independent, less dependent on your parents, and you got to do what you got to do, and also doing the clerical work, which I had very little time to use that before I went in the service, probably a year or less. So it kept me in office work and then perpetuated. I just kept on doing that line of work, and
Evidently you liked it, or you wouldn't have stayed in
yeah,
that.
I did. I thought accounting was boring, and it is when you start out and they give you one job and that's your narrow job. But I kept going to school when I got out of the service. I went to Miami right after high school, and spending my own money and taking more history and geography and all that. And I said, this is a waste of time, foolishly, and dropped out after the first semester. Then came back and went to work for my dad again. And then I went to business college at Miami Jacobs. And then when I came out of the service, I got a job and I started to take night classes at Sinclair to get a 2-year degree. Then I stayed on and went more night schools to get a 4-year degree. And then all of this now, I'm married with 2 kids and a full-time job, and in getting the 4-year degree, I joined the Financial Management Institute and took some courses and had an instructor who said, you ought to try to qualify for graduate school, a financial management school. And I said, no, I couldn't do that. And he said, well, you already got most of the classes. There's 3 different awards: fellowship, management, and executive. He said, you already have most of the classes for the first award. All you have to do is take 1 or 2 more classes and you'll automatically get it. So I said, well, okay. So I did. And I got the first award. And then he said, well, you might as well go for the second award. And I said, no, I don't think so. And by him saying, I think you can do it, I know you can do it, gave me the confidence. And he said, take a few more classes and this second award, and then all you have to do is go to Columbus and take a half-a-day exam, and you can have that management award. Well, okay. So I did that. And then I was done with school. I'm not sure, but I probably went to school at nights for 8 years working and raising 2 kids. But my wife did all the raising, I'll tell you. And then he called me at work and said, I wasn't even in his class anymore. And he said, oh, aren't you going to go for the executive award? And I said, are you kidding? Oh, you can do it. And just through, he made a big impact on me. I realized this later. A real kind of a turning point, really. He said, well, you can do it, and so forth. Well, the program, the executive program was, you had 3 choices. You could go to Harvard, Stanford, or Dartmouth. And the program was 3 years in length, and you went 3 weeks in August of every year for classes, and you took home study things that you had to turn in each month. You had a lesson, and sent you the textbooks, and you did your homework, and you took this exam, and you made like a mail order thing. And then at the end of that first year, you went 3 weeks on campus, and I chose Dartmouth. I don't know why. I guess it was less imposing than Harvard or Stanford. And I did that for 3 years and got the executive award. And having gone to school with, I was already working and had taken schooling, but this was schooling and meeting with guys from General Motors, U.S. Steel, E.I. DuPont, Cannon Mills.
Really broadened your horizons.
I said, hey, I'm way out of my class here. What am I doing? I'm from Piqua, Ohio, working for Aerovent Fan Company. And, but after the first year, you go, listen, that guy from U.S. Steel was in my study class. He's no different than me.
Yeah.
And so what it did, of course, it enabled me to handle the financial matters of Aerovent Fan, but it also gave me confidence that I wouldn't have had otherwise,
Did they, the service pay for any of that, or did you ask if that could be paid?
The service, no, the service didn't. But I remember the first year that I said I was going to do that, the owner of Aerovent Fan Company said, I thought he'd be pleased that I'm trying to further my education, and he was not so pleased. He wasn't displeased, but he wasn't happy about it. And for a while, maybe 2 or 3 weeks or a month, I didn't understand why he wasn't thinking, he wanted everybody else, he wanted everybody to do well and to advance, and why isn't he enthusiastic? And then it dawned on me. He thinks that I'm going to get this advanced training and leave. So he laid the law down, so to speak. He said, well, you know, you'll have to use your vacation, and therefore you won't get paid, and we're not picking up any of the tuition. And I said, fine, I didn't ask you for that. I already made the decision to use my vacation and to pay for it. And I think when he realized then that I wasn't going anywhere, that I was just trying to further my education and help Arrowhead,
Yes.
which I was. And he then said, okay, in the second and third years, he picked up, I think, half of it the second year and all of it the third year.
That was nice.
And didn't have to use my vacation and treated me very, very well.
Okay.
I was treated very well at Arrowhead.
Good,
Good place to work.
Well, I want to thank you for the interview and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.